Hi, my name is Theresa Molloy, President of the NIRI New York chapter, and welcome to NIRI Headliners in partnership with Business Wire. I recently had an opportunity to talk to Adam Frederick, who is Senior Vice President of Intelligence at Q4. Adam talked about the exciting, new, and innovative technologies that IROs are incorporating into their daily workflow. Stay tuned to hear from Adam.
I think there are two areas that we're seeing IROs really leverage technology today that really come to mind. One is the advent of big data analytics, and the other one is the advent of smarter, more intuitive UI, UX, user interface, and user experience on the platforms that they're utilizing. So on the data side of things, what we're really seeing is the ability to take huge data sets that maybe in the past have not been able to be tapped into and look at them in a very smart, robust way and really dive into the data, really look at it and say, what is it telling us? It really changes the way that we interact with the data, the way that we interpret the data, and ultimately the actionable insights that we get from the data. So that certainly is one area that we're seeing a major shift, and this can come into play from a number of ways. So you look at it from the shareholder analysis point of view, what are investors doing in the market today, looking at it from a data perspective, you look at it from the capital flows in the equity markets, and as well as the options market. That's one area where in the past we haven't really seen any major uses for options trading or options analysis for the IRO. But in today's world, with this advent of data analytics, what we're able to do is really dive into some of those, the depth of the options market, really look at the nuances of the pricing and the nuances of the trading, and really glean information from that, what has typically been a nebulous market that the IRO hasn't had much insight into. From the UI UX component, what we're really seeing is technologies or platforms that are evolving much more in a sleek, intuitive way, like we're used to looking at technologies today. So you think about legacy platforms for the IRO, most of them have been typically driven by the capital markets or for the institutional market, and then they were just retrofitted, if you will, for the IRO. What we see today is kind of a shift or a revolution in that, and you're seeing a much more sleek design, much more intuitive design, much more slimmed down, if you will, less information overload and more pertinent information for the IRO, pushing that information in front of the IRO so that they have it readily available to them and giving them a much more holistic view of what's going on with their stock today, what's going on with their shareholder engagement, what's driving all that, and again, this idea of a minimalistic, sleek, all-encompassing kind of symbiotic platform. So that's the real major change that we're seeing on that front. So I think one of the most exciting things that we see, and it's just in its infancy, I think we're just scratching the surface of the use of artificial intelligence. And really, what I mean by that is, you think of one aspect of it is really this idea of machine learning, and the other aspect of it is communicative UI. And what I mean by those, everyone's familiar with maybe things like the Amazon's Alexa, Apple's Siri, Google Talk, some of the biggest names in the space. And we're really, again, just seeing, not seeing it yet in practice. These are technologies that exist, but they're not out there for the IRO just yet. But I can see, for instance, a scenario where if we look at shareholder ID or surveillance from that perspective, you can have the advent of these machine learning algorithms or the artificial intelligence that really is mining the trading flow on a real-time basis and coming up with intuitive answers as to what is driving the stock right now, today. And these would all be very objective in nature, all driven by algorithms and quant analysis, and be able to give the IRO almost immediate feedback in terms of what is driving the stock flow, what is driving shareholder movements. Similarly, you can look at this from a targeting perspective, right? So you could say, what are the most relevant targets that I should be marketing to today, based on what the algorithm or the artificial intelligence is telling me are the most likely buyers based on today's market. So it's not dynamic, that's going to be changing every single minute or every single day per se, but at the same time, if you can think of a scenario where machines and artificial intelligence understand the nuances of why a certain investor might buy or sell your stock, and looking at that from a historical correlation perspective, you really get an idea of this idea of proactive targeting, where the machines or the systems are really pushing ideas to you as an IRO based on what the nuances of the buying and selling are in the market right now. From the communicative side of the UI, things like I see a scenario where, which is really exciting, where you could say something effective. You could be in your office or on your phone, on your mobile, and you really would just give a command, something as simple as, "Hey Alexa, what is going on with my stock today?" Or, "Hey Alexa, why is my stock down X% today?" And with this advent again of the artificial intelligence running behind the scenes, you'd really be able to get an instant feedback as to what is driving the stock price with a really objective manner. And that could be read back to you with voice by a voice-generated algorithm, or in a natural language generation format that you could forward on to your senior management or whatever it may be. The other thing I think that would be interesting is from the marketing/targeting perspective. Similarly, you could think of it as walking out of a meeting. And let's say you have 5 or 6 meetings in a row, and you don't have time to open up your laptop, find the Wi-Fi, log into your CRM tool, and type in, create a note, create an activity, and type in the note for that meeting that you just had before you walk into the next meeting. So think of a scenario where you could say, "Hey Siri," or "Hey Alexa, take a note for my meeting with Jim Smith." And the machines in the background would be smart enough to understand that your meeting was Jim Smith with hedge fund XYZ, and it would create a CRM activity, create the note, you would dictate it over voice, and it would automatically create that and save it into your CRM tool. So these are just a couple ways I think that AI and communicative UI are really able to shed a tremendous amount of efficiency on the IR space. And again, these are technologies that exist today that we just haven't seen in place in the IR space, but I think we will in the very near future.
Adam, thanks so much for sharing your insight about the exciting new technologies that IROs are incorporating into their workflow. This is Theresa Molloy signing off for NIRI Headliners from the Business Wire studios in New York.